Yeah, greetings and welcome back on another one of our PSM Emojo session. I'm glad we have with us Ras McKoy. McKoy is back to do part of the talk that he gave a few ago. So today he'll be looking at part two of Rastafarian and Pan African struggle. But as usual, before we get into our main presentation, I'll now pass you over to Undugu Imani, who will be changing the vibrations for us.
Asante sana Ndugu and Asante sana Elder Ras McKoy. Lovely to see you. So
Yes, I.
yes, beautiful. So we're going to start our ritual. So I know Elder Ras that you'll mute yourself and you'll come off.
Okay.
And for everybody else, this is an African spiritual tradition that the organization has adopted. It's something as I, as a African spiritual life coach, have developed based on study and intuition of African traditions. So this is something I do every day in front of my shrine. And so it's something that the organization has adopted, and this is something that we all can do regarding African spirituality and our rituals and practices. As we become more comfortable with them, we're able to call on those powers ourselves and know how to do that. So this is not about coercion. So anybody who doesn't want to take part, you don't have to. You can just listen along, or you can come back in, say about 15 minutes, and then we have moved past this part of the show where we open and we give thanks to the all universal consciousness, the powers, the cosmic spiritual powers that underpin all things, and the ancestors. Okay, so if you wish to take part, please do. And first, what we need to do is become more centered and link our physical entity with our spiritual entity up. Yeah, make that bridge, and we do that with our breath. So we're going to breathe together. So if you wish to take part, please just sit straight in whichever seat you're in, so that your spine is straight, so that your 7 energy centers are in line, and the Hindu Kush called chakra. And we're going to breathe deeply using pot belly breathing. So as we breathe out, we pull the stomach in, that forces the air out of our mouth, and then we relax the stomach and the air rushes in through our nostrils and fills our lung for our full lung capacity. And that helps us to become in this state where we're not where our enemies want us to be, so that we're not animalistic and we're not emotional and reactive. Instead, we are calm, centered, and in full possession of our faculties. Okay, so as we do this, we'll do this a number of times. So Ndugu Tahaka, is there a number that pops into mind that you're resonating with that we can breathe together?
Seat.
Sita, okay, that's number 6
Yeah.
in Kiswahili, and that is a spiritual quantity that signifies home and service and family. Exactly what we're trying to do through PACMTV and our organization, the Pan African Congress Movement. So, okay, so I, Indigo Imani, member of Pan African Congress Movement, will lead us in this ritual. So, if we close our eyes, and first of all, we're going to breathe out. And I'll count in Kiswahili to keep time. So breathing out through our mouth, pull the stomach in, and relax. Breathe into the nose. Moja. And breathe out. Relax and breathe in. Mbili. Breathe out. Pull the stomach in, empty your lungs. And relax. Breathe in. Tatu. And breathe out. Clear the mind. Focus on being present where we are. And relax. Breathe in. In there. And breathe out. And then relax, breathe in. Turn up for yourself more calm and centered. And finally breathe out. Relax, breathe in. Sita. Beautiful. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, let me know when you can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So this ritual is called Mabadaliko Ya Nishati, change of energy. So it's a change in the energy, changing, resonating with the one vibration that is all things that we are a part of. And it's a form of libation or tambiko in Kiswahili. So we're, instead of using water, we're using our energy itself to give us that offering to the one vibration, to the single consciousness, to the creator. So everything you'll see is in translated, so you can follow it on screen. So this is not only just a ritual that's running through the ritual, it's also a teaching exercise so that we become more familiar with our practice. And this is just one of number of our traditional practices, not better than any other, not worse, just one of them, and giving respect to all the others that exist. Okay, I'll begin. Kubadilisha nguvu sasa, tunawashukuru wote, mamlaka na mababu, kuuliza kwamba tuna uhusiano wa karibu na kwamba watasaida katika kuonyesha malengo yetu. To change energy, we now thank the all, the powers and the ancestors, to ask that we have a closer connection with them and they assist us in manifesting our objectives. And in order to do that, we're going to change that resonance, and we're going to use a triangle chime, this three-dimensional shape of 3, which symbolizes giving birth and creativity, coming into being. So that seems a good one to use. So we'll use that. Spirit says use it 3 times. So we'll ring it 3 times. As I do, allow the vibration to go around you, through you, and over you. And then that changes your resonance with the area that you're in now, opens up your third eye and your consciousness to the universal consciousness, the all, Wote in Kiswahili. And then we can connect with each other wherever we are in the world, consciously. Okay, so breathe deeply, close eyes, allow yourself to resonate with the chime. I'll begin. Moja. Mbili. Tatu. Okay, we continue with the rest of the ritual, where we're in an invocation, calling on those powers that are not outside of us, but within us. They are us. A very powerful thing that we're stating. So call and response, as I'll speak first, and then we speak together, saying Sisi ni kitu kimoja, we are one, or we are the same thing. A very powerful affirmation. So we're empowering our words to bring us into our true power. Okay, I'll begin. Ninaomba ya muumba awote. Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba ya nebacha. Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya mamiwata. Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya shu. Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya tefnut. Sisini Kitu
Sisini
Kumoja.
Pt2 Kumoja.
Ninaomba kanunina nguvu ya nut. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Pt2 Kumoja.
Again, onto the PACMTV, the Kemetic Tree of Life. Ninaomba kanunina nguvu ya Geb. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Sisini Pt2 Kumoja.
Ninaomba kanunina nguvu ya Auset. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Sisini Pt2 Kumoja.
Ninaomba kanunina nguvu ya Sebek. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Sisini Pt2 Kumoja.
Ninaomba kanunina nguvu ya Heteru. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Kumoja.
Ninaomba kanunina nguvu ya Haru. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Sisini Kumoja.
Ninaomba kanunina nguvu ya Herakuti. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Sisini Pt2 Kumoja.
Ninaomba kanunina nguvu ya Maat. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Sisini Pt2 Kumoja.
Ninaomba kanunina nguvu ya Sakar. Sisini Kitu
Sisini
Kumoja.
Pt2 Kumoja.
Ninaomba kanunina nguvu ya Tahuti. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Sisini Pt2 Kumoja.
Ninaomba kanunina nguvu ya Ausa. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Pt2 Kumoja.
And finally, with the highest vibration, Sisini, ninaomba kanunina nguvu ya Amen. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Pt2 Kumoja.
Now that we've called upon the first ancestor, the All, Wote, and called upon those ancestors nearer to home, those in our direct bloodline. So I'll begin. Ninaomba Mama Yangu, my mother, Audrey May Kelly. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Sisini Pt2 Kumoja. Ninaomba Ninaomba Ratigan na Sylvester na Ruth James na Louise Hines. Sisini
Kitu Kumoja.
Kumoja.
And now we can call upon those ancestors who are not in our direct bloodline, but those we used to honor and call upon their power to help us, to guide us. Ninaomba MZ, the Honorable Marcus Mazar Garvey. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Ninaomba Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the Queen, Nani after Sisini Kitu
Kumoja. Ninaomba wazee Amy Ashford Garvey, na Amy Jacques Garvey, na Marcus Garvey Jr., na Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, na Sabonfu Some. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Sisini Kitu Kumoja. Sisini Kitu
Kumoja. Ninaomba wazee Amawali, Alhaj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, na Betty Shabazz, na Dr. John Henry Clark, na Chancellor Williams, na Drusilla Dungy Houston. Sisini Kitu
Kumoja.
Anyone just call on Indigo? No?
Okay. That's it.
We can continue. And now we can call upon those ancestors who we don't always know their names, but they left us a tremendous legacy. First, the ones we should never forget at any time, those who fought and died during the European enslavement, the Arabic enslavement, colonialism, and neocolonialism, the Mangamazi. Ninaomba mababu ya Mangamazi. Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba mababu ya Asian Revolution. Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba mababu ya Gula Vita, those who fought in the Gula Wars. Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba mababu ya watu ya First Nations of Australia, na Papuans, na Tasmanians, na Dravidians. Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba mababu ya wanachama ya PACM. Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba mababu ya wanachama ya APLA, na SWAPO, na Freedom and Land Party, na Black Panthers. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba mababu ya watu ya Kemet, na Taseti, na Kush, na Nubia, na Mosai. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba mababu ya watu ya San, na Twa, na Hutu. Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Ninawaomba wanaishi ambao watatetea sisi, na wale mababu ambao bado hawajazaliwa. Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
And finally, we say the words of power. We give the words power. We empower the words by our intention and by our character, by following my art. So, saying with intent and power, just follow after me. Nguvu zote.
Nguvu zote.
Kwa watu wetu. Mapenzi ya wote.
Mapenzi ya wote.
Ni mapenzi yetu.
Yetu.
Hakuna mwanzo.
Hakuna mwanzo.
Na hakuna mwisho.
Na hakuna mwisho.
Mfano in Kemetian. Anuk. Amen.
Anuk.
All power to our people. The will of the all is our will. There is no beginning and there is no end to us. I am. Amen. I am that creative, unlimited potential power underpinning all things. Asanteni sana, Jamal. Thanks very much, Kindred.
Okay. Yeah, asante sana ndugu Imani. So,
Karibu, you're welcome.
Ras McKoy. Bye. Okay.
I'll join you at the end.
Yes, this week we're having Ras McKoy who's with us now, and he'll be looking at Rastafari. And he has done part one of his talk a few weeks ago, and today he'll be doing part two. As usual, Ras McKoy will do a presentation, after which we questions and comments. So please get ready to send in your questions and your comments for Ras McKoy to address. So at this moment, I'm over to Ras McKoy to begin his presentation.
Yes, greetings, give thanks, Taraka and Imani. Yes, Rastafari and Haile Selassie first. So today I'm going to continue with what we did a few weeks back, and we spoke about Rastafari in terms of the history of Haile Selassie, the history of. So I put it in the way that I say that we have three main figures, which was Haile Selassie, Marcus Garvey, and Leonard Howell. That there was four founding fathers: Leonard Howell, Archibald Dunkley, Joseph Ibert, and Robert Hines. And that there was a multitude also of well-known Rasta, which we never touch upon, but we might touch upon one or two today. And we spoke about each one of those individuals. We spoke a little bit on the Pinnacle, which was a settlement made by Leonard Howell, which he was up there, and then the colonial authorities chased him out eventually, arrested him several times, and so on. So I think we said enough of that in the first round. So if you want, you can look on part one and see what I said there about it. But we just touched briefly on the regrouping after Oil and Pinnacle, and then we move on from there. And today we can kind of focus on Haile Selassie visit, the impact, and the after effects, and so on. And then we'll do a kind of sum up again. So after them arrest Leonard Howell in 1954 and mash up Pinnacle and burn it to the ground, bulldoze it and burn it to the ground, many of his followers returned to the slums of West Kingston, and also around about the area with them called Coronation Market and Bacawal and Grassyard, and also the bottom of Trench Town. And they gathered here, and they were still continue to be persecuted by the police and by the authorities. It was a shame that people, your own people, were willing to partake in the brutalization of their brother and sister. Just for the sake of it, because some of them, nobody never ordered them to do it. They just do it because they wanted to do it. And so, after Pinnacles was set up, so some 14 years after, they broke it down, and the people have moved to Western Kingston, and people started them hustling again because it was back to no money, no place to stay. People have to build cardboard shacks and zinc shacks and all that kind of thing there. And had to make living by selling brew, making hand brew, making things which they make by them, and selling charcoal, all them type of things. They're selling fruits, sell ganja. Anyway, to make a living in the stench of the ghetto them time. So the people them conditions were really bad, and it was not only Rasta was in these slums, ordinary people was in these slums. But this was the reason why it was a good breeding ground for Rasta, because Rasta pointed out these things and pointed out the oppression to the people. And this was why Rasta was being persecuted and marginalized by the system, and also got caught up, the people got caught up in the old programming of the Babylonian system and started fighting against Rasta. That went back certain Rasta move, whether in a country or town, many of them have to move by night and move from what we call the gully banks because there were storm drains all over Kingston. And many of the Rasta, for sake of persecution, used to take the gully as a way to move from one point to another. The idea of calling the Rasta now, black art man, claiming that they would give candy to children and take them away and kill them and so on. All these type of propaganda was going on around that time. In 1958, however, Mortimer Planner and Charles Edwards, known as Prince Emmanuel, called a foundation, a convention in Kingston, same place there in West Kingston or Bacawala. And they had, it's about 30 day and night, them keep the convention chanting, drumming, and people reasoning and talking about where the movement is and where it was going and so on and so forth. And, Charles Edward now, him set up in Baba Shanti Order, the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, True Church of Divine Salvation, otherwise called EABIC. So he founded that. Other mansions started to evolve. The Nyabingi was also there, but it started to get its name as well. And then after that convention, it should have unified Rasta, but egotism continued to play a part and the unity was not strong. There was a next guy come on the scene, which wasn't a Rasta. His name was Claudius Henry, and he came down from America and he put out an advert in the Gleaner claiming that if people turn up at a particular address in a Kingston and sort of stating that if they produce this advert, it would be a ticket to go back to Africa. So people now, and in the advert, it talk about His Imperial Majesty Emperor of Ethiopia, the first elect of God, Haile Selassie, and was pretending to be Rasta when he himself, there's no point of him declaring himself a Rastafarian, and yet he was using the Emperor name in this way and use it now to get people to come to his address because he wanted followers. And them claim say the people them don't need no passport. All them need is this piece of paper. And people sell them goat and land and everything and gather upon a road in a Kingston called the road name Rosalie Avenue, where his headquarters was, and caused one big commotion. So eventually him couldn't fulfill this. The police, the authorities arrested him and charged him for fraud and fined him £100. But those people also now got displaced and end up in Bacawala again. So those nice country people living, raising them animal and farming them land, end up in abject poverty without anything. Just a few shillings in their pocket and so on. And then that wouldn't last long. So, yeah, so what happened now is that after him get charged and him get the fine, then later on them go raid him house and find ammunitions, some 1300 detonator them claim, a shotgun, a 32 caliber revolver, a large quantity of machete, sharpened both side like swords. So them did the works on him and them arrest him and give him a sentence. Tried him and give him a sentence. And while he was doing his sentence, his son Ronald and a few other people came down from New York and started planning, and eventually the army went up there and arrested them. I think some of them got shot and claimed say, yeah, them sentenced them to death. Well, at least one of them was sentenced to death. So it, them because them claim say they had found 3 bodies when them raided the house that they were staying in at Red Hills. And because they were staying at Red Hills, it was a big property, so them search the land and find a shallow grave them claim. And the police eventually catch them and try them and sentence them to death. But this is the problem with Rasta always face because everybody always a mix of Rasta. And and this is what Rasta face from those time until now. Cause if a man no comb him ear and sleeps and him live rough or if he's a madman on the street, everybody tend to call him Rasta and so on. And anybody who talk little bit about black and them ear did look away, them claim say them a Rasta when that was not true. Yeah. So after the back to the
Yeah, just like contact with Ras McKoy for a bit. So I'll just try and give him a ring and try to get back online. So just I try and get hold of him again. Hold on, I'll just bear with me a bit.
Yes, Taraka.
Yes.
Yes, sorry about that, boy. I don't know, the computer just crashed on me. So, you can hear me? You can hear me? Yeah, I'll continue from where I left off then, yeah? You can't hear you none at all.
Yeah, man. All right, continue.
Yeah, I'll continue, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the people, the people of Western Kingston now, like I said, when them destroy Pinnacle, the people, the people in Western Kingston moved to Pinnacle. They also gathered down in Kingston. Then there was the Back to Africa fiasco with Claudius Henry, yeah, and also more people end up in a back a wall, and more the Rasta movement began to grow up. So this confounded the authorities in Jamaica, and uh, Rasta was making contact with the University of the West Indies, and the academics now started to plead with the government that the Rasta problem has to be solved, and so they started to look into the Rasta situation, as they would have called it. And eventually in 1961, a delegation was sent from Jamaica to West Africa in regards to looking for people of African descent in Jamaica to return to Africa, bearing in mind that Jamaica is more than 95% African. Some say as much as 97% African. So they were looking to return to Jamaica. Yeah, so I mean to Africa. Sorry. So when we look at it now, Babylon oppressing the people, government wanted to find a solution and send a delegation to West Africa, to Ghana, and about I think 9 African countries, including Liberia, Sierra Leone, and also Ethiopia. And then met His Majesty there. And 3 Rastas was amongst, 3 dreadlock Rasta was among the entourage. One was Mortimer Planner, the next one was Douglas Mack, and Fillmore Alvaranga. Yeah. So this delegation met with Haile Selassie, with other government people and people from the University of the West Indies and so on. But the main person who seemed to focus in terms of Rasta out of the whole of this was Plano, Motomo Plano. We call him Plano, but I really Plano. Yeah, so they met Haile Selassie in Ethiopia and explained to them the Rastafari view and so on. So we can talk about Motomo Planner in a while, but before that, after that visit, between that time and the visit, in Jamaica, we had an incident called Coral Garden incident, atrocities or riots, what depending on who talk about it. The government them call it riot, Rasta call it atrocity or massacre. Yeah, and an incident occurred where them claim say an altercation took place at a gas station in Montego Bay. And somebody died and the police now, because the person was Rasta, the police start rounding up all Rasta, and then the Prime Minister himself, Sir Alexander Bustamante, went all the way down to Montego Bay with gun in hand and said, if this that them to shoot and kill Rasta on sight, and if the jailhouse can't hold them, the cemetery will. So them say as high as 150 Rasta were detained, you know, and this created real animosity again amongst the people of Jamaica, and because of the treatment that they did. But even the normal people in Jamaica, you know, did a fight against Rasta, you know, because that's how a lot of people, Rasta, did get arrested by the police, because the local people who was programmed to hate Rasta start finding out where the Rasta they did there, and so on and so forth. And these hateful policemen who don't like themselves and black people now were eager to beat Rasta, and they did so without mercy under the command of one Alexander Bustamante, who they later made a national hero. You understand? So this is the tribulation of Rasta go through. But one of the figure, like I say, and I think I'll only include him really, was Mortimer Planner. He was one of the 3 people that went to the delegation, with the delegation of Jamaica to the African countries, and met Haile Selassie and had a sort of association with him, and we will see later on how serious that association was. So Rasta was a prominent Rastafarian in a Western Kingston and helped to found the Rastafari Movement Association, as well as the local Charter 37 of the Ethiopian World Federation. Like I said earlier, he participated in the Universal Domination of Rastafari, which took place at Bakawan in 1958. So plan on now, like I said, very instrumental. And like you said, he went to the mission to see Haile Selassie and the African in 1961. And so Planner had, because Planner did meet His Majesty now, people like he became very powerful in terms within the Rasta movement and beloved within the Rasta movement, because people like Bob Marley would have said, boy, this is the man who meet God and talk with God and so on. And so Planner and Bob Marley and the other Wheelers group became very friendly, and in fact, Planner became a mentor of Bob Marley and penned a couple of songs for him, because Planner was a serious songwriter, and he penned a song called Haile Selassie is the Chapel, which came from a song which Sonny Till did back in '53, a R&B hit called Crying in the Chapel. So Haile Selassie is the chapel now. Took that melody there and spoke of Haile Selassie within it. And it became a very instrumental tune round about that time. Planner now was, like I said, was living in West Kingston at a place called 35 Fifth Street in a Trench Town. And you know, them say him had a serious library of books and Black Power and African and Ethiopian history. And many of the singing group would have gathered in him yard. And also many singers live within the neighborhood because Trenchtown is one of them places where the music did really, the reggae did really develop from. Yeah. So in association with Bob Marley, I think he also wrote Rock, Please Don't You Rock My Boat for Bob Marley. But him also did, yeah, him say him do Hypocrite. Him write the Bob Marley song Hypocrite. See the hypocrites, them a go along there. Yeah. And please don't you, yeah, him do that for Bob Marley and the Realize. And also he wrote Sata Masagana for the Abyssinian and Declaration of Rights. Now, he learned some serious diplomacy when he got to meet Haile Selassie because when you go on them kind of visit there, you learn diplomacy, some serious diplomacy. And that made him a mentor to many a Rasta, only for Rasta, because he did meet the king. And also he ushered the king off the plane, escorted the king after the plane on his visit in Jamaica. So now we will move to the visit in Jamaica. Yeah, we move to the visit in Jamaica. Yeah, hold on there. Yeah, so the day of the 21st of April 1966, which just gone, which we celebrate just gone the 55th year, is the day which Haile Selassie landed in Jamaica as part of a Caribbean tour to Trinidad, unscheduled 2-hour stop in a Barbados, and then him land in a Kingston on the 21st of April 1966. Now, the invitation was extended to the emperor by the Jamaican government after the Trinidadian government did invite him and they knew that he was coming to the Caribbean. But the whole objective on the part of the Jamaican government was the final dissolution of the Rastafari movement, because the movement was a trouble to the Jamaican authorities, with church and state and business alike. Everybody in the upper echelons of society never to check for Rasta. And so them check say, well then, why? When Haile Selassie come, we can encourage him to deny that he was the Messiah, so to speak, and that he had no deity, and that he was not God, and so on and so forth. So on the day in question, people travel from all over Jamaica, some in a truck back, some in a bus, some in a car, and some on bike, and some actually walk. I have some Rastaman in Jamaica that walk barefoot and half of them a lift them now take it, them just a trod earth, as they would say. And they move through earth. And then some of them walk as far as Montego Bay or Kingston. Now, and them do that regular to car, them walk all through Jamaica and meet them judging. But on this particular day, them walk towards Kingston and the Palisades International Airport. And there, at least 100,000 people gathered and other hundreds of thousands lined the route that led from the airport. So, all heap of people come out that look like, and you know, at the airport there was drum playing, ganja was smoking, man, I light up them chalice. Ganja, we call it ganja, people call it marijuana. And them light up the chalice and, you know, incense are burn and chanting are gone, and a downpour of rain came that morning and people get soaked. And official red carpet itself gets soaked, and them say the day had been overcast and stormy according to reports. And Rastaman started to quote scripture. A flock of seagulls landed on the grounds of the airport. And Rastaman start pertaining to the scriptures again about birds landing and so on and so forth, and everybody waiting on the plane. Then the first sight of the plane, when them saw the plane, it came from the east. Some other scriptures start quote again about the Messiah coming in from the east. So the plane now coming from the east, and then it normally come from the west because it land from the west according to how the winds steer at the airport. So they land from the west. So it came in from the east, make a circle, a U-turn, and landed from the west. And when them people see that, them start, you know, chant, and the people get full of spirit and emotion and everything. So when the plane land now, the crowd full of emotion start jump the barrier. It land at around 1:30 p.m. and the crowd then jump the barrier, and the viewing gallery, which was on top of a building, so people jump it down, people who could jump go jump down, other climb down on the wall, on anything they could have hold on to, and come down and head towards the plane, which was taxiing and coming to a halt on the tarmac. And so the whole of where the plane there full of people, and man start blaze up chalice and them spliff and chanting and drumming and everything. And when the plane came to a stop, it was reported that by one of Haile Selassie grandchildren, that Haile Selassie went to the pilot and he was informed and tell the pilot to turn off the plane engine, because the Rasta them were lighting up them chalice and all them thing there. And you know, the engine, the aircraft fuel is a very, very combustible fluid, even the vapors, you know, and people just get overwhelmed and lose all sense, but somehow them consider it a miracle because the plane never catch a fire. And all protocols were dropped that day. There was supposed to be a military arrangement for the emperor to come off of the plane, walk on a red carpet, and meet the governor general. And the carpet got wet. The crowd was overwhelming, so Haile Selassie come to the top of the step and look out and wave to the crowd. Some people saying which shed some tears that the Lion of Judah had arrived and then returned into the plane and disappeared for a while. He requested that Planner should come and see him because he met Planner in Addis Ababa, like I said earlier. And the Jamaican authorities called for Planner over the loud hailer. And Planner, which was on top of the viewing gallery, jumped down onto the crowd below and they catch him and carry him all the way to the steps of the plane and walk up the step of the plane. But Planner him said that 3 days earlier he had a throat operation which can be verified and for a tonsil operation and that him could hardly speak. Him say when him going on the plane, the emperor said he would like to part the crowd for him and touch him on his shoulder and said, yeah, just direct them to move and him say come out on the plane and shout out to the crowd saying, make way for the emperor. And the crowd part and finally the emperor was allowed to come down the steps of the plane park. In those days it was a step, them carry the step out to the plane and it's not like nowadays where they carry the platform to the plane and you walk straight into the airport. You don't walk out in the rain or the blazing sun or whatever was the case. So, like I said, them drop all protocols, proper official reception, get abandoned. Haile Selassie never walk on the carpet and walk with the Governor General towards the wait limousine. And they drove into Kingston with the crowd all along the way, waving red, gold, and green flag, and everybody glad to see the emperor, because like we say, Rasta God come and everybody want to see Rasta God. And those who did even a mock Rasta want to see this man. And when them see him, some of them thought he would be like a gladiator come to liberate Rasta. So them see this small little man come, mild mannered, humble little man come. And some of them were disappointed. But after them see him and the years went by, their mind changed and said, what, this man really powerful for sure. So them say journalists was puzzled at why Haile Selassie never walked on the carpet. But the carpet did wet up and the people them did walk on the carpet and mud up the carpet and you understand. So some Rasta did go up on it and say that them now the king now walk on the carpet what the Queen Elizabeth walked on because the Queen had visited the island, the entire Caribbean, English-speaking Caribbean, 2 months earlier. So the rest of them insist him now walk on the carpet or the Queen walk on and dirty up the carpet according to unofficial reports or reports from Rasta. So he was ushered by the Governor General and other dignitaries towards the limousine and drove people waving along the top. Yeah, and drove down King Street, which is in the downtown part of Kingston, the main thoroughfare, and while they make them way towards the, the race course and the Prime Minister's residence. So drive downtown through the heart of the business area, shopping area also, and round Parade, which is the center of Kingston. That would be like, say, what you have to call it? Like, you'd drive down Oxford Street then, Hyde Park corner, Oxford Street, that kind of place then, when the UK. Then, there, he went to race course, we call it race course, but it was called George the 6th Memorial Park in time there. And it's now called National Hero Circle. But it was known as race course because it used to be I think a horse and bicycle racing track there. And we know it as race course. So he later read at the foot of the cenotaph for fallen soldiers, Jamaican soldiers in a World War I and World War II. He also laid a wreath at the Marcus Garvey tomb. Yes, so in fact, you know, many Rastas were amazed that him would lay a wreath at Marcus Garvey tomb because of what Marcus Garvey had said about him. But such is the humility of the man that him lay a wreath at Marcus Garvey tomb, because Marcus Garvey is a great stalwart in the whole Pan-African movement, and Haile Selassie is the champion Pan-Africanist. And this was one of the reasons why he loved Rasta so much, because Rasta is one of the great Pan-Africanist movement. Yeah, so like I said, near the wreath and then head towards Jamaica House, where he was introduced to the Prime Minister by the acting Prime Minister, Donald Sangster. But by this time, the Prime Minister was sick and blind and couldn't carry out his duties properly. And this man, who chastised the Rasta them in a Montego Bay and throughout the island, when Rasta King come and Rasta God come, him blind and couldn't see the man. And even though him talk to him, he couldn't set eyes upon the man. He wasn't worthy to see him. You understand? So after that now, the emperor went to the stadium and the acting prime minister spoke. He was given the keys to the city by one of the commissioner for the PSAC, a man called Eustace Burr. And yes, so His Majesty got the keys to the city, and him watch a military display and some dancing, schoolgirls and so on, you know, as Jamaica put on a show for the empire. The next stop, he went to King's House, where he met Rastafarians and gave them gold medallion, and other people he give them, met them and give them things and greet them and welcome and, you know, show in appreciation to the people of Jamaica. So the Jamaica government also gave the emperor and his grandchildren some gifts. And then there was a concert there with the Rasta drummers and other performers to entertain the emperor and his entourage. I think the next day he moved on to Parliament, where a military brass band led the procession to open a session of Parliament. The emperor was escorted to a saluting base, so him take the salute, and the Ethiopian and Jamaican national anthem was played, and then he proceeded to the chambers where he made an address to the chambers. Yeah, so he point out how Jamaica had a long people had a long and glorious history, and that all the people of Ethiopia and the people of Jamaica were one. Yeah, so after that speech now, he visit a number of academic institutions, Jamaica College of Arts, Science and Technology. He visit Michael College also, and asked him to sign the visitor book. Got an honorary degree at the University of the West Indies, and then later they had a Governor General reception at the Kingston Sheraton Hotel. After that, I think it was the next year, he went to lay the stone for the building of a school in Payne Avenue out of 2 Mile in Kingston. And this school existed there called Haile Selassie High. And at the same time, he laid the foundation for the school, the ground digging and the laying of the first stone. The Jamaican government offered an Ethiopian student to study at the UII at the Jamaican government expense in return to the gift from the emperor because that school, the land was purchased and money to build the school was given by the emperor to do that. The emperor was a stickler for education. In fact, in Ethiopia, he was the minister of education. So he loved education, and he want all Africans to be educated and come up to educational standard, at least to the European, so we could compete with the Europeans in terms of science and technology and modernization. He then drove through the dilapidated slums and along Spanish Town Road, and went to the Kingston railway station where a large crowd gathered. So there was crowd along the way of Spanish Town Road. Everywhere he go, a crowd followed him. And then he went to the railway station where chanting and drumming again, and then departed from there to Montego Bay. The train stopped briefly in a Spanish town, and a very large crowd gathered there, but some commotion caused the train to leave before time, because His Majesty was supposed to stop there and sit and talk to a few people. But because of the commotion, you understand, say, there's a policeman drawing back because somebody accidentally dropped something on him. And he started beating him. That was eyewitness report, and the whole thing get broke up because of police intolerance. Again, the train stopped at a place called Denby near Maple, Williamsfield near Mandeville, and Magate. It also stopped at Mount Peller, where we met people, prominent citizens, and ordinary people, and saw folk dancing and them kind of thing. And my virgin IQ said, see him, that the Rastaman put him on his shoulder and said, youths, see the king there, as the king come off of the train and meet the people. So, all in all, The next stop was Montego Bay, where a massive crowd gathered, real massive crowd gathered. Rasta from all over Jamaica, people from all over Jamaica, to get a glimpse, the last glimpse of the Lion of Judah. And then, according to a documentary film that was set up by the GIS, the narrator said, the sight of His Imperial Majesty created a roar like the voices of 10,000 lions at a place called Charles Square, which we now know as Sam Sharp Square. His Majesty then left for the Montego Bay Airport, but there was a strong contingent of police and military presence to keep the ordinary citizens at bay. The Emperor then inspected a man called Major Lloyd, an officer called Major Lloyd, escort His Imperial Majesty to inspect the guard of honor of the 1st Battalion of the Jamaica Regiment at the airport, shortly before his departure. That same documentary stated that Haile Selassie had touched the heartstrings of Jamaica and as no other stranger had done. He had generated a tidal wave of emotion that swept the length and breadth of our island and had engulfed the people with an enthusiasm and affection never before witnessed in the history of Jamaica. So this strange man came to the shores of Jamaica and touched the people. In fact, nobody in Jamaica never ever touched the people of Jamaica like that. Because, like I said, Rasta was despised by a lot of people, especially the upper echelons of society. And more than half of the lower income people and destitute still fight against Rasta. But when this man come, them hear of this man coming, they all gathered, whether them reach the airport or them line the route from the airport or them meet him when he not travel to the stadium or to the railway station or to the groundbreaking ceremony. Everywhere in go, people wanted to get a glimpse of the King of Kings, the Lion of Judah. And all of them, everyone humbled themselves. Rasta could have smoke or weed from Jamaica or King's House land. Rasta was invited to the King's House to do gold medallions, and the upper echelons of Jamaica society had to put up with it. The ministers of government and the MPs and all them people who look down upon Rasta as dirty Rasta had to put up with the fact that they had to entertain Rasta in a King's House at the request of the Emperor. Them try to get him to declare that he was not God, but him say him not interfere in people's religious belief. That is not what he did. And in fact, when he did at depart Trinidad, one of the speech he making at Trinidad was that the government should respect people's religion and individual identity and all them kind of things for the sake of peace and togetherness and so forth. So he was saying that in Trinidad because there was Indian, a large part of Trinidad was Indian, but also reverberate in terms of Jamaica because they weren't treating Rasta good in Jamaica. They weren't respecting Rasta. But due to diplomacy, them never want Haile Selassie never want to interfere in the internal affairs of Jamaica. So him have to know how him did say it. That's why him say it in Trinidad, because him say it in Trinidad because him want them understand that for when he reach Jamaica. So when he reach Jamaica, Rasta had a holiday. When the plane depart in Jamaica, they would have said the free paper burn because it was back to normal again. Everybody, all the Jamaican government and the Jamaican hierarchy, the institution and all of them became civilized when the Lion of Judah came. And then when the plane departed to Haiti, it was back to the old uncivilized behavior and so on and so forth. 3 months later, after the departure of His Imperial Majesty, 3 months later, them bulldoze the settlement of Bakawal. Yes, them bulldoze it. And the 250 police and soldiers and them come. A man called Edward Siaga was Minister of Development, and he decided that was a prime property for building housing scheme, a housing scheme for field supporters. And so them run off about 3,000 Rasta from the whole of Bakawa, what them call Bakawa, which stretch from Spanish Town Road to Fort Shore Road, Spanish Town in the north and Foreshore Road in the south, and Maypen in the west, Coronation Market in the east. So that large stretch of land that them call Bakawal was bulldozed. People were right. Some people even claim say people could have died in that incident because when the bulldozer come, people may have caught up in the house. So then bulldoze it down and move the people out and had to find, they became homeless once again. And so in spite of the fact them see the king and behave like them civilized, within months after, them carry out this wicked atrocity again, making people homeless, beating people and so on, driving them away out of the area to build Jamaica first political garrison, Tivoli Gardens. Yeah, so this was a terrible incident, but during them time, you know, the reggae music started to come into being, and Rocksteady and Rasta start to sing on the song, and the Wailers became famous, and Bob Marley became an icon by the 1970s. And singing prolific Bob Marley now became a superstar, a Rasta man now, become a superstar in the world, a pin-up artist, one of the 3 greatest revolutionaries with Che Guevara and Fidel Castro. People see him as a prophet, and he was a serious womanizer, as they would say. So Bob Marley had all those attributes that make him #1 superstar in the world by about 1986. And he had such songs as Stir It Up, One Love, Get Up, Stand Up, militant song like Get Up, Stand Up, War, which was based off of His Imperial Majesty speech to the United Nations, which say until the philosophy that all one is superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. Yeah. Also sing Africa Unite. Yeah. Black Man Redemption Song, Exodus, Babylon System, and Zimbabwe. Also attended the independence celebration of Zimbabwe. Out time own money pay for the equipment and the lighting and the PA and the lighting and everything to partake in the celebration of the independence of Zimbabwe, which the peoples of Zimbabwe fought for and won. We also had song like No Woman No Cry. But even though while he was alive, he never get a #1 single. Even though he became the artist of the century with the song and album of the century, while he was alive, he never get a #1 album. Bob Marley now brought the good news of Rasta to the world, and some people kind of don't like, never like that, but I saw it now. Him helped took the pressure off of Rasta, because when I Selassie come to Jamaica, it took the pressure off of Rasta for the time, and also people now start to become more, the normal people in Jamaica, they start to see over a period of time Rasta in a different light, but the system continue to fight Rasta. But Bob Marley now, you know, became famous, and this took the pressure off of Rasta worldwide, that all Europeans that fly come to Jamaica to come see Rasta, especially white women who want a dread a Rasta for David. You understand? Because true, like I said, Bob Marley was a womanizer, and then come to Jamaica come and look Rasta for David. So in one sense was a good thing Bob Marley went out there to ease the pressure. But the next time, on the other hand, corruption came, people looking to mingle with Rasta in an old way, in a carnal way, rather than to get the wisdom of the Rasta. So as time I run on a pass, we can say Rasta Haile Selassie as the earth rightful ruler. And Rasta embrace his imperial majesty, even after even people in Ethiopia embrace Rasta like embrace his imperial majesty like Rasta embrace his imperial majesty. And many Rastas are very disappointed in the fact that other Africans try to dismiss them in the contribution that they play in the Pan-African struggle, and the work that Haile Selassie have done. Many try to ignore it, just like the Europeans try to ignore African history. Even Pan-African try to ignore Haile Selassie and Rasta in the movement, and try to refer to other people doing things when Haile Selassie do it. And many Rastas are upset by that. And we hope that in the future we will start to see them give his imperial majesty full respect that deserve within the Rastafari, within the African context and the African liberation struggle. Post liberation, the liberation movement from Mozambique to South Africa and Angola and Guinea-Bissau, post the Zimbabwean, then set up the organization. He was the instrumental in the setting up of the organization of African Unity, which today is the AU, or the African Union. He hosted that conference and brought the leaders there, and also set up the AOU offices, granted the building in Addis Ababa. Say the OAU carry out its business, and today it's the African Union. I think they moved to new offices now, but that is the case. Like I said in the previous one, Rasta prays an African man as king, and in some respect, the Messiah or God, whatever your people now call it. The Rastafari movement is a black liberation movement, even though the way some, like I said, these European came and corrupted it and weakened some of the man them. But in essence and in strength, those who have all the order, it is a black liberation movement, even though we are universal in nature, that we look after the African family before we look after other races and creeds and kinds. Rasta see Africa, all Africans as one people, whether them be at home or abroad, whichever nation them belong to. All when them call themselves West Indians and Americans and British, Rasta see all Africans as Africans and black people as Africans. Yeah. They look towards Addis Ababa and not towards Jerusalem or Mecca or any other kind of place like that. They look to a place in Africa, and they look to Addis Ababa or look to Accra or somewhere to have them future. Like I said earlier, Haile Selassie and Rasta play an important part in the anti-apartheid and liberation struggle. And Rasta maintain a presence in the minds of the African people, because when people see Rasta and the locks and the doctrine that Rasta teaches of self-sufficiency, of African unity and cooperation and collective security, and teach breaking down of the Berlin Conference borders and opening up Africa to business and unity and prosperity. You know. So Rasta also introduced ital eating. People are talking about vegan and all that kind of thing. Rasta did them things. Rasta did differentiate itself, even though them born and grown in Jamaica and then spread out the world. Them use the Ethiopian flag at the time. The flag they now changed since the dethroning of the empire. Right? And but Rasta still use it with the seal of the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And you know, the main symbol for Rasta, although not all Rasta wear dreadlocks, but one of the main symbols of Rasta is the dreadlocks. And the reason why most Rasta feel the sufferation is because of them dreadlocks. Cause as a man see the Rasta dreadlocks and hear the Rasta talk, then them start people start chastising, many people start chastising and detest them because of Babylon programming. Now, those who don't have on the locks don't get to know the feeling of what people out there feel about Rasta until them see the dreadlocks. Because when them see the dreadlocks, it stir up something in them. So even though you hear people are say you don't have to be dread to be Rasta, there is a difference when you have on the dreadlocks. Yeah. Now, within the Rastafari liberty, some are we are town Rasta and some are we hills Rasta. So the Ital Rasta live up in the hills and live more with nature. We try to hold some of the order in the town because some of we live in Kingston, London, New York, and all these places around the world. And so we don't get to live the Ital live like some of us that like to live. So we try our best to still remain Ital food and them kind of thing there, but we don't get the fresh air and the freedoms of the waterfall, the rivers and the streams and the beaches and so on. So like I said, we see Haile Selassie as the redeemer. He is a modernizer and a unifier of African people. And, he's a man that realized, said, Africa cannot develop without education and Africa developing themselves through economics, social, and military affairs. Because education is pivotal, and he himself was Minister of Education in his country as the emperor. He have a prime minister and all that, but he saw education as so important that he kept the Ministry of Education to himself. So all the dignitaries bowed at his coronation and white people bowed to him. And so we have a man that all of the people now bow to. And we can say, yes, Africa and Africans are really powerful people. And we don't have to be the subjugated 3/5 of a human being like our some of the Europeans would want us to be. His Imperial Majesty made a prophetic speech at the League of Nations where he told the Europeans that what had befall Ethiopia would come upon them, and a few years later World War II started. In fact, 2 years later Germany invaded Austria, and that was the beginning of what the Europeans call World War II. But in fact, it started with the violation of the League of Nations when Italy attacked Ethiopia. His Majesty gained a lot of respect and admiration from people around the world, including the Europeans, because of that speech and because of the dignity in which he walked and the dignity in which he spoke. And like I said earlier, he made a speech to the United Nations that, the peoples of the world have to unite and have collective security, and that we cannot use color prejudice to be a way of life. That so him say until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes, the dream of lasting peace will remain but a fleeting illusion to be pursued but never attained. So, and then him go on to say, we Africans will fight if we find it necessary. And we know we shall win because we are confident in the victory of good over evil. So, Haile Selassie make you know, so him will fight for the right, and it's not a lamb to the slaughter, but he will fight if he find it necessary. He is the king of peace, but if push come to shove, he will fight for the right. Yeah, so Haile Selassie was a very wise man and used the British to defeat the Italians, and then sit down upon him throat while him watch Europe burn. Yes, so Rasta play a very significant role in the Pan-African struggle, uh, and not giving the full credit for what we have done and what His Majesty have done. Nevertheless, we will continue to play that role and continue to work for the unity of all Africans wherever they may be, and for the health and prosperity and self-determination and ownership of the land of the African continent. Yes, Haile Selassie, the first of Ethiopia. Jah Rastafari. So when you're ready, give thanks for listening to the presentation, and we're ready for the question and answer if you can. So thank you, Taraka, for allowing me to doing the presentation. Yeah?
Yes, Rastafari. Yeah, that was very mentioned there, and a lot of facts came out. Very, very interesting facts. Wait for people to get their in and answers in. I've got a few questions of my own that I like to put to you. Yeah, Ras McKoy?
Yeah, break up, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean,
but
what's going on?
try ask the question.
All right. There was one point you made when Bob Marley on the same
Repeat.
footing with Castro. You put Bob Marley on the same footing with Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. Could you just
Yeah,
expand on that a
I
bit?
know me alone do it.
Yeah, but it's the first, to be honest, it's the first time I come across that comparison. So it'd be
Yeah,
good
man,
just to
but
expand.
Bob Marley has been seen as a revolutionary around the world. Uh, Film songs them, get up, stand up for your right. Babylon system is a vampire. These are warfare in music. These are telling people to get up and do what they're supposed to do. Get up and stand up for your right. Fight against Babylon oppression. These are revolutionary acts and has been seen by people who could understand that this man was on the same level as uh, Che Guevara and Fidel Castro. And when him go to all heap of places around the world, them call him the dignitary of these people. Them deal with him as a revolutionary. Like I say, he was a pin-up artist. When him go a place, them treat him like a head of state. When him go to New Zealand and all them places, them treat him like a head of state because of his revolutionary position, you know.
All right. Yeah, there's a question here, and it's about Claudius Henry after scheme.
Yeah, well, Claudius Henry was a man who came from America, him was a kind of, him claim him was a back to Africa preacher. The same convention in 1958, we understand that him did attend that convention. And then later on in 1959, him put out an advert in the Jamaican Gleaner inviting people to come to Kingston to board ships to go back to Africa, and that them only needed that piece of paper as the document that would have take them on the ship. Them no need no passport, them no need no this, and them no need no that. And that, like, I mean, that caused big problem in Jamaica, particularly in Kingston, where the people them did gather at Rosalie Avenue at the time. And that gathering caused the government now to start look into the whole Back to Africa movement. Now Claudius Henry and his son, who later came to Jamaica, the authorities claim say them find him with detonators and weapons and all them kind of things, ready to start a revolution. We never knew, he never declared, as far as we know, exactly what he was fighting for. Far more than that, he was planning to overthrow the government. No one knew what he was fighting for. No, as far as we know, apart from those people who did turn up at that place, we don't know of him having no amount of followers, to make that kind of move there, what he make. And then while them imprison him for the detonator and the gun, his son and his sons, I think a couple of them come down with some other people and plan to break him out of jail and to overthrow the government. Some claim so them plan to blow up the dam as well, and so on and so forth. Different argument about what he was doing. But the military went up to a residence in the rebels era and chase him and him followers and find a shallow grave with 3 bodies in there and accuse him of murder. Him and him follow the 3 other people with murder, and they were sentenced to be executed. So Claudius Henry is not really part of the Rastafari movement. But like I said earlier, everybody get mixed up with Rasta. So if you find you say something about Africa, the writers them, the scribes them mix you up with Rasta, and the government mix you up with Rasta, and everybody else mix you up with Rasta. So this has always been a challenge for the Rastafarian movement and Rasta in general.
All right. Yeah. Let's check. Another point. Yeah, I've got another. You did bring up about Selassie's involvement setting up of the Organization of African Unity, the OAU, and also you said he has liberation movements that were fighting at the time. In terms of the OAU, how they came to set that up in 19. But I'm not that familiar if you're giving refuge to the liberation movements. So could you expand on that a bit for me?
Yeah, well, Haile Selassie, in fact, the last show, I show you say, them invited, Nelson Mandela and Walter Sisulu was there to be trained in diplomacy and in leadership the of the organization in their struggle against the apartheid regime in South Africa. Both Nelson Mandela and Walter Sisulu. Most of the frontline troops really actually was in Tanzania, but there was other uh, forces, not necessarily the fighting forces, but you know, in a warfare, people don't go look on the man with the AK-47 over his shoulder and the rocket launcher. But there's other parts to war that includes diplomacy and strategy and all them kind of thing. Which other country, including Kenya and all them, did host people, Ethiopia, did host the revolutionary movement. You understand? And uh, some of them went to school in Ethiopia, some of them go to school in Tanzania. You know, so only part invitation was given there. Them have access to the meetings of the Organization of African Unity. And what you call it again, they were like, they weren't full members, but they were, I have a next name, but it slipped my head. True, yeah. But they were like observers, that the word, like observer status within. Yes. So them kind of thing there, so him did do it. In terms of the organization of African Union, it's clear that him host the conference. So the man who hosts the conference, them would have put the thing together, just like how you put the show together. Your thing. Yeah, I see him here, so him put the thing together, brought all the leaders together from various fractions. As you know, there were two fractions, the Man Rover group and the Casablanca group. One wanted a united Africa, they were as one United States of Africa. They were very few in numbers, and a couple of those states were actually the 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 North African states, which were controlled by uh, the Turks, the Euro-Asian people. You understand? The most of the rest of African states then from the Manuel group, they wanted to maintain the Berlin borders and so forth. But Haile Selassie bring them together. Haile Selassie donated the land and the whole thing where the building get put on and kick off the whole thing of African states getting together and trashing out them problem. Unfortunately, the leaders of Africa hasn't fulfilled the role that them should have done even up to this day, even though them have a saying, the slow boat to China. So that was what, 1963, that is 68 years ago. We should have did further along the road, but it's a slower and grinding process. But eventually it will go happen, no matter what people say, whether they want to change it from AOU to AU, and who want to change it down the line for them personal egotism, massage. It can happen. Yeah, it's going to happen, and no one can stop it from happening. It's just a matter of time, and them say time is the master. We're going to see that happen.
All right. Consistently time. So finally, you touched on this a little bit, and I'd like you just to expand on it for me and for watching. And that is Rasta as a movement. Would you say, as a movement, Rasta can really classed itself as truly a black liberation movement.
But
See.
Rasta is nothing but a black liberation movement. You see what happened now? You have a whole heap of wannabes in Rasta, and a whole heap of people get weak to the European. And so, like I said earlier, the European them come down, they come look Rasta for do them concert and sit through money. A lot of people compromise and broke the rule. But the movement was started by those what we call the founding fathers of Rasta is a black liberation movement with Haile Selassie as the king of kings and the icon. Whether you want to be deity or earth rightful ruler or whatever you want to call it. That is how it is. And if you listen to Leonard Owen and in preaching was black liberation, return to Africa, freedom of black people, self-determination of the black people, Africa land belong to Africa. All of these arguments that all Pan-Africanists have and more that most Pan-Africanists have and more Rasta have that together. And none of the Pan-Africanists, like we say, a point we can say if they have a God, or a point to a place in Africa where they can say, this is our holy ground. Or Rasta have that. You understand? So yes, you will see a few weak people weak out with some white girl on the arm and have a white backing band on stage and them things because like I said, Rasta has been plagued by what people call wolf in sheep clothing. And if there is 10% of people with locks on, people only mostly associate Rasta with the ones who have locks. And I can say about 10%, if, and I'm being very conservative, about 10% of people with locks are, if that, it could be much less, are actually Rasta. You understand? And actually, I live Rasta, because Rasta is a livity. I live Rasta, I live the back to Africa, I live the ital food, I live the doctrine. You understand? So
All right.
a lot of wannabes, whole heap of wannabes.
Okay, like I said, time's running out. So one more question just for you to briefly have a look at. And it's what role of Prince Emmanuel in the meeting of His Imperial Majesty, if any? And he said, I do not think you mentioned. That would be a final question for today.
Well, we did mention Prince Emmanuel as one of the main organizers of the 1958 convention in Bakawa. But he was one of the persons that met His Imperial Majesty along with a holy father, Rasta, was too numerous to mention and call, and some of them we don't even know them name because the government never even, as far as we know, presented a proper list of those who went to King's House and received the medal and those who went to the reception at the Sheraton Kingston Hotel. So Prince Emmanuel, we understand, was one of those. Also suspected, I think it was Joseph Ebert may have been there, one of the founding father of Rasta, but that cannot be confirmed either. So we never able to confirm those things. But we know quite a few prominent Rasta went to King's House, got medals, and yes, Prince Emmanuel was one of those. And like me say, Prince Emmanuel, he after them bulldoze the place at Bakawad, he moved towards a camp up at 9 miles Bull Bear and set up a camp up there. So the bulldozer in a back a wall, in some sense, one could have said was a blessing to the Boba Shanti because they got countryside land similar to what Howell had up at Pinnacle, and they could uh, conduct their affairs uh, without any disturbance.
All right. Okay, then, Ras McKoy, yes, thank the signer again
Yeah,
for.
yeah. So give thanks for allowing me again, and give thanks for the viewers for watching. And yeah, Rastafari love, and thanks for you inviting me on the PSCM TV.
Yes, and thank you for coming back on
Yeah,
and
thank you.
expanding the first lecture that you gave us. Insightful information came out of this. Like I say, I've learned a lot because there's certain things that you've cleared up, certain things that was in the back of my mind, and it's now become much, much. So I thank you again, Rasmus. So
Yes,
at
and
this moment in
thank
time,
you.
and Dugraman is here, so that means he will be closing up for us with um, process of changing the energy. So I'd like to hand you over now to Ellen Dugraman.
Asante Sana and Dugu. And of course,
Yes,
again,
yes,
Asante Sana, Elder Ras McKoy,
yeah,
for
yes,
your
yes. Wonderful.
knowledge and wisdom and for and giving us more information on Rastafari. Central to African liberation and for our understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us wouldn't know about African liberation if it wasn't for Rastafari, that they held the flame high, where most of us were coming into consciousness. So there's a great part, which you all expanded upon in both of your presentations. So Asante Sana. And do good.
Mm-hmm.
Before I end on Mabab Deliko Nishati,
Yeah,
do
I
you want to
was
talk
going to
about
say,
KLD?
I was going to report in again to say, yes, we've been doing for the past few weeks, we've been reminding Liberation Day coming up. As I heard Rush McCoy mention the organization African Union, and it was 1903 and the organization of African Union Liberation Day was launched, and that was done by Haile Selassie together with Kwame Nkrumah. And since then, African Liberation Day helps to remind us that if we really want to be the things that we have to do. Now, in recent years, about 2 or 3 years ago, it has changed from African Liberation Day to Africa Day. But as the PACM is concerned, we will be calling it African Liberation Day because when we look at our people around the world, we cannot see where we liberated. So, on the time we can say liberation has really come to us, Africa Liberation Day, it will. So, on the 30th, that's Sunday 30th, and Monday the 31st of May, the PSCM putting on African Liberation Day once again. It tells its first African liberation 5 after a visit by a member delegation from the UK that attended the Pan African Congress in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And after coming back, the PSCM formed. And I'm sure I've mentioned this many times. Some of the regular faces you've seen come on PSCM and Elder Gottsmore and Miami and so forth. Those were some of the founding members of the Pan African movement. So we are very much looking forward to you all at Africa Liberation over those 2 days. It will be held online again. So in a way, I can say you have no excuse. As you know, from we have held it in the Midlands, we have held it in Birmingham, and people was not in the position to attend. But since it's online and throughout the Pan African world, those days. So please keep those dates for your diary. And as we come closer to the event, we soon will be working on our leaflet, and this will be soon will be announced some of the attendees, some of the speakers, some of the performers who will be active at African Liberation Day. So at this point, I'll hand you back over to Ndugwe.
Asante Sana in Dugu. So yes, so bringing our session to an end and bringing our fellowship to an end for this evening, but also with the wish and the intention that this fellowship that we have with each other, that it lasts until we meet each other again in whatever form, of a cyberspace, spiritually, or even physically. But we now are going to end the meeting with the closing ritual. So, Ndugu, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. And Ndugu Taaka, can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Asante Sana. So, we're going to once again use the triangle chime to play that, to stimulate the vibration, the one vibration. So it symbolizes the one vibration, the creator, which we are all emanations from. We all come from that one vibration in a form called as human beings, but we are consciousness, that one consciousness from the all high. So we use this to bring us back into resonance, also to bring us into the state of mind where we have now consciously called upon the creator, the principles and powers, and the ancestors to be consciously with us. They're always with us. They are within inside us, in our DNA, in our very being. We consciously call them into being, to be with us, to assist us, to help us manifest our objectives, to guide us, and to give us the wisdom and the courage to take action and have intent. Nothing happens without us imagining it. What you think on, what you dwell upon is what you create in reality. So if we have the intention, we have the will, then we can have our liberation. The only thing that holds us back is our own selves, nothing else. Giving our power over to other people's, other psychologies, other ideologies, gives them power. We need to take our power back and be who we're supposed to be, to bring this universe, this cosmos, all existence back into balance. So, Spirit tells me that I'm going to ring the chime 4 times. As we do, give thanks to those entities that we have called into our conscious knowledge and understanding and being with us. We allow the resonance to go around us, through us, and over us. Open ourselves up to universal consciousness. Feel that connection with each other we wish to maintain, and give thanks and appreciation for the all, for the principles and powers and the ancestors for being with us now. So I'll do that. As I do, sit straight, feet flat on the floor, back straight, and I count in Kiswahili to keep time. Moja. Mbili. Tatu. And once again, we end on the words, the invocation on screen. We give it power. It has no power that we don't give it. We give all meanings to all words power. So very careful how we speak about ourselves, how we speak about each other, because we bring it into reality. So now let's bring into reality these positive affirmations on screen. So just follow after me, saying with intent and power. Nguvu zote kwa watu wetu,
kwa watu wetu,
mapenzi ya wote,
mapenzi ya wote,
ni mapenzi yetu,
ni mapenzi yetu,
hakuna mwanzo,
hakuna mwanzo,
na hakuna mwisho. Anuk, amen.
Anuk.
All power to our people. The will of the all is our will. There is no beginning and there is no end. We are. I am. Amen. Asanteni sana, Jamal.
Asante sana ndugu Mwani for that. And again, asante sana to Ras McKoy for his very enlightening presentation, and asante sana also for all those who listened in and looked into this. So until next week, when we'll be back, I bid you hear it.